This is like TV advertising for our generation, but way better than TV advertising could ever be. Well, hello, and welcome to another edition of the E-Commerce Evolution Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Curry, CEO of OMG Commerce, and today is a unique episode. This is actually a recording that I did. I was a guest on my buddy Jordan West's podcast, and we dove into YouTube. Now, Jordan West is a pro. He is a master of TikTok shops. He's built multiple brands, and his podcast is the secrets to scaling your e-commerce brand. And we talked all about YouTube. Now, the reason we dove into this episode right now, this is coming off the heels of really a groundbreaking research piece or research project that was released by House Analytics, H-A-U-S. Olivia Corey and team there have done some brilliant work all around the idea and the practice of measuring incrementality or seeing the true impact of channels. And so they did 190 incrementality tests that involved YouTube with 74 brands, and the results were mind-blowing. She was on a podcast with Andrew Ferris. I'll be on that podcast soon as well. But the idea here is that YouTube severely underreports, or Google Ads severely underreports the actual impact the YouTube ads has, to the tune of about 70% underreporting. Or another way to look at that, the reverse is it's about 3.42x more incremental than what you see there. So if you're seeing a 1 ROAS as an example in platform, the actual impact is probably a 3.42x ROAS or 3.42 ROAS, which is amazing. And so in this podcast, Jordan asked me about our experiences as an agency. We're known as one of the top YouTube ad agencies for D2C brands. So tell lots of stories, lots of examples on the creative side, on the measurement side. Ways we've used YouTube to grow retail sales, omni-channel sales. I think it's going to be informative, instructive, and hopefully fun. So with that, please enjoy the interview that I did with Jordan West on YouTube ads.
Hey guys, Jordan West back here. Today, I am so excited about this podcast episode. I have one of the experts in the space, in the YouTube space, that is, Brett Curry, on the podcast for, I believe, a second time, maybe even third time. Brett, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, Jordan, man, awesome to be here. It is for sure at least the second time and maybe the third. I'm not sure, but let's make this the best one yet. That'll be our goal.
I was so happy when you reached out to me. I'm like, yes, I want to. I was really hoping we were going to talk about YouTube. I just said, oh, Brett reached out. I'm like, I will have him on the podcast. I have no doubt that there's going to be tons of value here. So really looking forward to this. Brett, before we begin and, really dive in, tell, for people who don't know anything about you, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Totally. So I'm the CEO, co-founder of OMG Commerce. We are a performance digital marketing agency. We focus primarily on D2C e-commerce and omni-channel retail brands, specialty with YouTube ads, as we'll talk about today, but also all things Google. We lean into Meta. We're full service on Amazon, and we do retention marketing as well, so email and SMS. But I'm just passionate about marketing that works and marketing that builds a brand and also drives bottom line impact. So got a team of about 40. We've been doing this since 2010. Won some cool awards, been featured with some Google case studies and some other fun stuff. But at my core, I'm a marketing and business junkie, and so thrilled to be talking with you today.
Awesome. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I think one of the interesting things that you and I were touching on before we actually pressed record here was this idea around trying to measure incrementality of some of these channels that are really hard to measure. So for me, everyone knows I've gone super hard on TikTok this year, right? I think the reason why TikTok Shop was so interesting to me is that we always knew TikTok was driving business results.
Yes.
But no one could ever tell you that. There was no measure.
Couldn't measure it. Yep.
Right? Because it just doesn't work like that on TikTok. It's not a direct response channel in the same way. Now, TikTok Shop is, right? Shop has changed all of that, and we have this nice closed ecosystem that you can measure. But I talk about this halo off of TikTok Shop the entire time, right? But interestingly, YouTube is such a similar channel to me where it's like, how many times am I watching something on YouTube? I see an ad and I'm like, oh, yeah, I should go buy that product. I totally forgot about that. I never in my life have ever clicked from a YouTube ad over in to buy a product. Never once. Because I'm watching something, but it's there with me. It's the TV of 2025.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's so interesting.
Walk me through this. What are your thoughts? Why are you still in the YouTube game, and how do you continue to scale?
Partially because I'm a glutton for punishment. I don't like to do anything the easy way. Apparently, I like to get beat up on a daily basis. So leaning into YouTube, it's a bit of a battle, right? A lot of people have written off YouTube as a viable channel for growing their business. A lot of people opt to just pour all their dollars back into Meta. And hey, I'm a believer in Meta ads. We spend on Meta even as an agency, like not just for our clients, but for OMG. But
for yourselves. Yeah, of course.
I love Meta, but YouTube is so unique. And I love the way you framed it. And I fully agree with this statement. This is like TV advertising for our generation, but way better than TV advertising could ever be. And I'll kind of set this up a little bit. So I got my start when I was in college in the early 2000s. I worked at a radio station and then got kind of involved in some TV and stuff. But I just remember talking to local retailers, local furniture stores, local car dealerships, local restaurants. And they would tell me things like, yeah, when we advertise on radio, like maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But when I run TV ads, like people come in and people mention it. And like they couldn't directly attribute, but they could feel it. And they could see it when the TV ads were on, people were coming in, right? That's incrementality. You shut TV off, that business goes away, right? And so that's really what that's what YouTube is now. And we've all just gotten addicted to last click or multi-touch attribution models where we want to see the click. We want to see the evidence that this ad led to this sale or this result. Ultimately, I think we're all coming to that. We've kind of come full circle, right? It was like, oh, offline is so difficult because you can't measure it. Ooh, online is magical because you can measure everything. To some of the ways we're measuring online is really short-sighted and maybe not very helpful, right? If we want to just, as an example, lean in fully to ROAS. Well, if you want to maximize ROAS, just run branded search, right? That's the maximum.
Of course. And then try scaling
not incremental at all. Yeah.
Right? Like this is the hilarious thing. It's funny. I've been trying to lean in on how for me, I owned a bunch of brands over the years, right? And trying to lean in on how I can help e-com brand owners, especially the smaller ones that we don't work with anymore, right? I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, how do I help you guys, right? That are listening to this podcast. Lots of you guys are listening to this podcast, and profitability is an interesting thing, right? We've been obsessed with these marketing metrics that just don't matter, right? Like what we see in branded search, like what we see in most people running Facebook ads on bottom of funnel. I'm like, good. You think that looks good? Who cares? It doesn't do anything for your business. It's not going to make you profitable at the end of the day. This is something I've been obsessed with lately.
No negative impact to your business. Shut that off. You'll probably get all the sales you're currently getting. Yeah.
Totally. Exactly. YouTube. Again, I was telling you about a funny little small case study and from a colleague of yours that's running this ad account, and it's not spending a ton. I think it's like 20 or 30K a month right now. But I will tell you, as we scale it up, right? On platform, it's showing about a one return on ad spend, right? So normally you'd say, let's turn that off, right? Yeah. Well, when we turn that off, everything dies. There's no business, right? So that's number one. Number two, the MER is about 3.5. So I'm not dumb. I know something's happening there, right? Yeah. So that's my sort of look at all of this, right? Of wait, we've got to get out of this granularity that we think that we know how a customer journey works. Come on. We'll never know how a customer journey exactly works.
Customers don't know how their customer journey works, right? They don't know. They're just seeing things and reacting again. And they probably couldn't even stitch together their buying journey. So what makes you think you'll nail that with 100% accuracy? You just won't. So
tell me what you guys do. You've been all in on YouTube since I've known you, right? You're the YouTube guy, Brett.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we're known for. A lot of big brands come to us because we've cracked the code, so to speak, on how to make YouTube ads work. And the good news is, while it's not measurable in the same way that Meta ads are, or in the same way that search or shopping ads are, you can measure it. You just got to work a little bit harder. You got to kind of triangulate the truth a little bit. But you nailed it earlier, Jordan, when you said, I've never clicked on a YouTube ad, right? YouTube is the TV of our generation. Nobody clicks on their TV, right? So you just use that as your comparison. And actually, this is interesting. Over 50% of views now, and I've seen numbers show as much as 60% of all views on YouTube, just the YouTube app, are on TV screens. It's the fastest growing platform or fastest growing screen for YouTube consumption. Yes, there's the option to send to phone, or you can scan a QR code on those YouTube ads that appear on a smart TV or a connected TV, but that's so rare. That's usually you're doing something on YouTube. You're probably not going to do those things. And so it's just, people don't interact with YouTube the way they do even Facebook or TikTok. And so I want to give you that at a core level. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to give everybody a fun anecdote here. So my kids watch a lot of YouTube. They've got a few creators that they love. My daughters love Mariah Elizabeth. She does all these like crafts and stuff. And then obviously Mr. Beast, right? Everyone doesn't like Mr. Beast.
Yep, he's the best.
And there's these massively long YouTube ads in between, right? Like there's like 60-second unskippable. My kids recently came to me and they said, Dad, I hope in the next election, now remember I'm Canadian, and we're now going right, of course, right? Like everyone's making the swings, right? And so they come up to me and they're like, Dad, I really hope in the next election that you're going to be voting for Pierre Poilievre because his tax plan seems really good. Remember, this is like 11 and 9-year-old. Like I've heard a lot of things about what he said, and I'm like, don't ever tell me YouTube ads don't work because you have to be watching them.
Dude, that is so good. I remember as a kid, for me, and this still is like stuck in my brain and probably meant that I was destined for a career in advertising. I remember trying to convince my parents to buy Ginsu knives because I saw these great commercials and I'm like, guys, you don't understand. Like you can cut through a can of Pepsi and then you can cut a tomato without sharpening. And I'm just like regurgitating the ad, but it's such a good example. So yeah, your kids are now a spokesperson for political parties.
Exactly.
That's such a good story. Well,
I actually
anything, So
what's funny is that like this is years ago. I think this is 2018, maybe 2017 or 2018, somewhere around there. And we just had like this little tiny agency at the time. Now we're kind of similar to your guys' size. I was actually just looking, we're around 40 right now.
Yeah.
And I think there was like 3 of us at the time. And my accountant decided to run for mayor. And I thought to myself, well, what's the best way that I can get him seen by everybody in the city that we live in, Abbotsford, it's called. It's like, how can I get him seen? And I was like, I think I'm just going to go YouTube. Right. And so I made these really long videos of him. Remember, he was a candidate that like nobody knew. He ended up getting second place and getting about, I think it was somewhere around like 30% of the vote. And I was like, whoa. And even more, we have this meme account on Instagram called Abbotsford Memes. And one of the posts on there was about his YouTube videos being everywhere. And I was like,
crazy.
Yes, this works. I wish I would have just tripled down on that.
No doubt. Yeah. Last kind of little anecdote that's related to this part of what we're talking about. We have an appliance store client, someone that I've known a long time. They've got locations here in Springfield, where in Missouri, where I'm based, but all over Oklahoma and stuff. So we've been talking to them for a long time about, hey, give us a little bit of your TV budget because they spend a lot on TV, sell appliances. Give us a little bit for YouTube. Because we were running all their Google search ads and stuff like that. And so they finally gave us a budget, not a ton of budget, but some for a few key markets for one of their appliance chains. And they just came back to us and they said, guys, in Q1 so far of this year, these stores are up 35% over last year. One of their other chains is flat, basically. And they're like,
interesting. So you got to have a case study.
A case study. Yeah. So they, I don't know they want anything released publicly. So I've got to talk kind of, I've got a few case studies I can get into in detail with you.
Please. Yeah.
35% over other stores. And the only thing they changed was taking some TV budget, putting it onto YouTube, and voila, they got more growth.
I mean, this is the thing that we've talked about. This is funny because I'm on TikTok land over here and you're over in YouTube land. And these are the two things that nobody on Twitter really ever talks about because they can't measure them. And yet we all know that both of these drive this massive halo, right? Yep. Like there is, I'm sure we'll talk in very generalizations here, but I was talking to a guy the other day who happens to do some advertising for one of the biggest supplement companies on Amazon. And they're the biggest supplement company right now or one of them out on TikTok Shop. Their Amazon business has doubled this year with no more Amazon spend. Just like, all I'm saying is like, we've got, if you guys are going to get anything from this episode, just remember that in the meme curve, right? Like the person that is obsessed with triple whale is not the one at this end of the curve, right?
Yep.
Like if you're obsessively looking at your numbers like that, like that's not how you run a business.
Totally.
That's not how you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So let me give you a couple of examples, a couple of additional examples, and then we may want to talk through too at some point, like when does it make sense to start testing YouTube ads? When are you maybe not ready to test on YouTube ads? Because I will say, even though I am a believer in YouTube ads, I talk about it all the time. I speak on stages. I get invited to YouTube offices a couple times a year to teach brands how to do this. It's not for everybody. And it's not the place to start if you're a young brand, probably. Yeah. And so happy to talk through that. But one case study that I think is really interesting. So this was a brand we worked with a number of years ago, Keranique. It's a hair care product for women with thinning hair. And this actually worked so well that now the founder, he sold the business and now he's a partner in OMG, which is kind of a cool, fun first.
That's so fun.
Yeah, exactly. So with Keranique, they were doing a lot with direct response TV, doing a lot with Meta and a few other channels, but they could not get YouTube to work. They tried and failed a number of times. So we came in, we remapped the campaign strategy, we tweaked their creatives because the creatives were powerful, but they weren't quite built for YouTube. So we redid the creatives.
Are we going to get into that? Because I think that's an interesting thing to get into is like what makes a YouTube creative amazing.
Sure. Yeah. So we can kind of dig into sort of our formula or guidelines there on creative, but we tweaked the creative. We redid the campaigns. We focused kind of who we're going to target on YouTube because targeting is still important on YouTube. We went from 0 to $1 million in spend on YouTube in under 90 days. While hitting their target CPA. So this was direct response, clickable, measurable sales. They had a high CPA ceiling. They had a landing page that converted really well. They had a great product. They had a high take rate on subscriptions, so they could pay a lot for new customers. So it all worked, but that was just purely D2C. Now, what we found then is as we started doing that for months and months and months, we were asked to help them with their Amazon business. And they were like, Amazon's really taken off. Amazon is going like gangbusters, right? And so we started helping them grow on Amazon to do full Amazon channel management. Well, we hit a patch where we had to pause YouTube ads for a bit due to some internal tracking and a couple other things. We had to pause it for a bit.
My favorite kind of A/B tests where it's
exactly.
I was forced to do this. The credit card bounced and I didn't see it for 7 days. The best tests.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't a credit card bounce, but they had to pause for a bit, right? When they did, because we had full visibility into Amazon. We were managing Amazon. Branded search cut in half when we had to pause YouTube. Then we got YouTube back and they were rocking and rolling again before long. But we were like, holy crap, that's pretty crazy. So basically we came to the conclusion that it was about a 1-to-1 ratio. For every conversion we saw D2C, we were getting at least 1 on Amazon. And one of the data scientists on the team was like, it might be 2. It might be 2-to-1. For every 1 you're getting D2C, you might be getting 2 on Amazon. And so it's one of these things where...
Were they in retail as well, Brett?
What's that?
Were they in retail as well?
They were not in retail. Now, I've got another case study to talk about that was like fully retail in Walmart stores. That's incredibly fascinating. But this brand, no, they were multi-channel. So they were, D2C plus Amazon plus a few other marketplaces. They were not in stores at that time. Yeah. Okay.
Insane. And also, I think that we all brand people who have been in this game for a while are like, those things you do that you can't measure that
right
are that is the right thing to do and actually drives the top of funnel business. But then you're convinced by somebody, maybe it's a new CMO, maybe it's a new somebody, right, who comes into the space. Maybe it's just a viral tweet on Twitter or on whatever we call that thing now that just shouldn't have gone viral because it was wrong, right? You must measure everything. I only scale things that are measurable, right? And then you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to turn this thing off. And then your business tanks.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. And I think it's important, like we're certainly not making the case to measure less and we're not making the case to not pay attention to your numbers. It's just that not everything can be measured the same way, right? I heard this, somebody on my team made this analogy one time. They were like, hey, think about a light switch, right? You flip a switch and the result you don't see on the light switch. The result is over here with the light, right? I was like, that's a pretty good analogy, right? Where
That's a really good analogy, Brett.
Like YouTube, yeah, you're running YouTube, you're doing this thing right here. The results are over here, right? You see the results over here. They're there. You've just got to look for them, and measuring them is harder. So I don't think you should measure less. I think you should measure more. I just think you should understand that ROAS is a bad metric overall, if that's all you're looking at. And the whole picture, understanding incrementality and real growth and real impact, it takes some work. It takes some work to measure it. So you got to look at everything. I can also show you a case study that might be helpful. It's from Arctic Coolers. So coolers and drinkware, a Yeti competitors. Happy to dive into that. Or I think you may have had a question right there.
I do have a question I have to put in the middle here, Brett. I'm so sorry. But how are tools like Prescient and MMMs? Do you trust them? Do you think that they are telling the full story? Do we need to move from an MTA model into an MMM model? Just what do you think about that?
It's a great question. So I think there's a couple things at play here. I still like MTA tools. I think they serve a purpose. We have clients who use Northbeam, clients who use Triple Whale. I like them. I think we can gain some insights there. They got different models you can kind of play with. And so it can give some insights, certainly. I do tend to think that like an incrementality test plus an MMM type of approach is probably a little bit better. I would lean that way. But I think you can also do things like, hey, if you can track in-platform performance and you can do things like incrementality tests on your own, which you can do that. You can set up geo tests, geo holdouts, and things like that.
Just do holdouts, right? Like it's that simple. Like just do a geo, like let's say New York and California are bringing you basically the same. Sorry, California and Texas, just because they're similar populations. If they're doing that, you can just hold out Texas,
right?
And then you can know.
Measure the impact. Measure the impact. Yeah. And so there's some tools that Google can help you with. They'll do things like search lift studies. They do conversion lift studies, which basically is a way for them to do their own kind of holdouts and tell you the incrementality of a particular campaign type. Quite useful. So I think that can kind of get you on the right track. And then I do think one of the best numbers, the best metrics, which you really don't need any fancy tool for, is MER, right? Look at your total media efficiency ratio and watch how that fluctuates as you lean into one channel over another. Hey, when I really lean into YouTube for a couple of months, my MER improves and my top line grows, right? That sometimes simple is all you need, but you've got to be looking in the right places. I love MMM. I have not used Prescient, but I've heard good things about them. But I do think the world is probably shifting more to MMM and incrementality tests and less towards MTA.
Yeah. MTA, I think, was something that we brought in when we needed it, right? And especially post iOS 14.5.
Solved some real problems there for a bit. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So Brett, I want to get into your case study. And then after your case study, I want to hear so guys, stick around because Brett is going to break down what makes a perfect YouTube ad.
Yeah. So excited about that. I guess about a year ago, I was speaking at the YouTube offices in Los Angeles, teaching a group of brands how to grow on YouTube. Met the folks from Arctic, which I was not that familiar with that brand prior to that point. But Arctic is, they sell wheeled coolers, like indestructible, the best cooler I've ever had. They're a direct competitor to Yeti. I think they're better and they're less expensive. They also sell drinkware, and I'm a big tumbler fan. I drink a lot of coffee, Jordan. Are you a coffee drinker as well, Jordan?
I drink a cup or two a day. My son got me this cup here. It's like, I don't know, like a liter, basically.
It's kind of cool, yeah. I love coffee. I go to bed thinking about coffee, right? I'm a big fan. But Arctic has drinkware that is ceramic lined. It's one pet peeve, and this is going to show that I'm a little bit of a snob when it comes to drink beverages. If you drink out of a metal tumbler, it smells and tastes a little bit like steel, right? Almost like so you got blood in your mouth. You get a little bit of that, right? The ceramic lining completely takes that away. It tastes like you're drinking out of your favorite, ceramic mug or whatever. It's brilliant. Anyway, so met Arctic. They were like, hey, we want to get YouTube to work for us. And here is our hypothesis. Can you help us prove it? We want to see if YouTube will drive in-store sales. They were just put into all Walmart stores, or almost all Walmart stores nationwide. They wanted to know if we ran some targeted YouTube tests, can we see a measurable lift in Walmart sales? And so we said, we love this idea. They had great creatives. We coached them a little bit and helped them with their creatives, which we'll get into more in a minute. But here's what we did. We basically, we did some studies with the help of Google to find what cities had really high category demand, meaning people looking for coolers and wheeled coolers, but then had varying degrees of demand for Arctic. And this was all based on Google's search behavior.
Yeah.
So we mapped out and we said, okay, let's do a test. Let's choose 19 markets that we think are poised for growth, got good store count, good inventory levels, things like that. Let's match those with 19 control markets that are basically the same size and same everything. And we're going to spend YouTube dollars in the test markets and we're going to hold out in the control markets. We're going to do that for 5.
And there was Walmart's in all markets.
Walmart's in all of them. Yeah, exactly. So then we could do, so it's a, matched pair holdout type study.
Yeah.
So we leaned in hard and we used all of our resources, to build out the right campaigns and maximize views. And we did lean in heavily to connected TV. So that was a great placement for these ads. And we measured the
on YouTube.
On YouTube.
YouTube's connected, like YouTube's TV placements.
Exactly. And this is not YouTube TV. A lot of people ask about that. I'm a subscriber to YouTube TV. It's a good cable replacement. That's a separate inventory though. It's powerful, but it's actually a pretty small percentage of YouTube views. And if you buy YouTube ads in the platform, like in the Google Ads platform, you're going to be on traditional YouTube. But here's one really crazy side note that ties into this. More people stream YouTube on connected TVs. So the good old fashioned YouTube app on connected TVs than stream any other platform. So YouTube.
I do not doubt that even for a second.
Yep. Bigger than Netflix, bigger than Hulu, bigger than Disney Plus. It's like bigger than Hulu, Disney Plus, and a few others combined. It's bigger than Netflix, but not that dramatically. So we leaned in heavily to connected TVs.
There's so much inventory. The
inventory is insane. It's just so many people aren't advertising here because they don't get it and they don't understand it. And so CPMs are pretty low compared to Meta and other places. A lot of opportunity here. So we did this 5-week test and we measured it all along the way. We did see lift in D2C. So we were able to measure those and track those. All the ads said, go to Walmart, go buy this at your local Walmart. You could click to find the local store. Through Google, tracked people that visited stores. All of this was all about local. But we did see some D2C sales, right? Because some people were just like, of course. Buy it online.
No, I want to buy it now.
Yeah, I want to buy it now. I want to buy it online. We saw a lift on Amazon because a lot of people are like, yeah, I want to buy it now, but I don't want to buy it from your store. I want to buy it on Amazon because that's my favorite. So we saw that. But here's what we saw. Inside a Walmart store, so we had kind of 3 different groups of markets. The worst performing group saw a 12% retail store lift in comparison of the test markets to the control markets. Test markets, 12%, high degree of confidence lift over their control markets, or very similar in size and nature and all that stuff. The best group was 25% lift over the control market. So basically they were like, holy crap, this is great. Let's do more of this. It actually led to us running a whole bunch of or getting more of their business. Google's like, hey, we got an agency excellence award for it. We really leaned into this more. And in the process too, we also did what's called search lift study where Google can look at, people that saw your ad versus people that didn't see your ad. What kind of impact does that have on people searching for your brand, right? So we saw like a 241% lift in branded searches from this ad campaign. So and this is where it's like, okay, you've got to kind of look at the holistic picture. And I will say this is where YouTube really shines for omni-channel retailers. They can shine for multi-channel retailers as well. But the results were staggering.
Incredible. We don't have much time here, Brett. I want you to walk me through, before you go, walk me through what the perfect YouTube ad looks like. Yeah.
So there are a few elements, and I've got a guide that we can mention that's free that kind of walks through like 17 of our favorite YouTube ads and breaks down each one and kind of shows.
Great. We'll get that down in the show notes. And if you guys are watching this on YouTube, it'll be down in the description below.
Awesome. So the first thing, no surprise here probably, but you need a hook. First 5 seconds is critical. If it's a skippable ad, which is most of what we run, you have 5 seconds to really hook somebody. Some people are hovering with their finger or the mouse over the skip button, ready to click. So you got 5 seconds to convince them, hey, wait a minute, check this out a little bit longer, right? So the hook is important. And what we say is you need to make sure you're hooking the right person. So don't come up with just some random hook explosion, something funny, guy in a gorilla suit, something just wild. You want to interrupt the right person, right? So your ideal target, but then you want to
only pay based on an actual view through.
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't want the wrong, like you basically want to be like, hey, everyone else don't watch.
You want you want the non-ideal shopper to skip because you only are paying for good views. And so you want someone to choose to watch your ad if they're in your market. So something to grab their attention, thought-provoking question, a bold statement, showing something right in their face, but it needs to be related to what you sell. So it needs to be related to like the problem you're solving or the relief you're bringing or the enjoyment that your product is offering. So it's got to be relevant, a relevant interruption, a relevant hook to the right person. So the hook is critical. Next, if you're D2C, like essentially most of our clients are retail in some way, there's got to be a product demonstration, right? You need to now show me the product in action. And Jordan, I like a typical demonstration. So like, what's the proper use case of this? One good example is a Flex Seal, like the spray on thing, like to seal, if you have a leak in your gutter or leak in a pot or whatever, you spray Flex Seal and it stops the leak. So I like a standard use case demonstration, like this is how you seal your gutters type of thing. But then I like an over-the-top demonstration. If you can throw that in there too, it's kind of like the
Pepsi can thing you talked about before.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like the knife, the Ginsu knife commercial where they cut through the can, or the old super glue commercial where they in one cut put super glue on the bottom of a guy's shoe and stuck him to the ceiling, held it, and then he stayed there. Anyway, so show like a dramatic product demonstration too, because you want them to see the standard demonstration and say, oh, I could do that, right? But then they're also kind of skeptical, right? I like to talk about Missouri, where I live, we're the show me state, and our state animal is a mule. We're like stubborn. We believe nothing. You got to show us before you believe us. Picture that your audience is from Missouri, right? You got to show them, and they're going to be skeptical. Standard product demo, and then over the top product demo. Then I like some social proof. So show me something that proves that other people like me love this product. So this can be reviews. So when we were doing stuff for native deodorant, we helped them really scale on YouTube. We said like, hey, there was only over 50,000 5-star reviews, right? Like how could 50,000 people be wrong type of thing. So some kind of social proof. Then I like some kind of risk reversal or some kind of offer where it's like, hey, do this, try this, experience this. We'll take away the risk. And then a firm call to action. And so that call to action is, hey, click here to learn more, go to Amazon and buy it from your favorite retailer, something like that. So
how professional does the filming need to be on YouTube? Like, I talk about TikTok all the time, right?
Yep.
It's the opposite, right? You don't want professional filming. It doesn't work. It's the antithesis. What about YouTube?
Yeah, it's kind of the same with Meta too, right? Like sometimes it's the unpolished, the shot with the phone, kind of raw, candid stuff that really works. On YouTube, you do need a little more polish. Think again about the frame that this is like TV, and a lot of people are probably watching it on TV.
Yes.
And so a little more polish is important. Now, we found that we've had a lot of success with an ad that is professionally produced. You don't have to spend tens of thousands of dollars on it, but you need good lighting and like a good camera and good audio and things like that. But sometimes when you mix good production value with some raw stuff mixed in, so like good high production value, then throw in some UGC either in the middle or at the end. That combination, extremely powerful. Now we scaled this auto brand on YouTube a couple years ago, and basically all they had was UGC, but it was really good UGC. And so we did UGC mashups, where just a whole bunch of like customers showing their car, talking about why they love the product, things like that. But then we added some editing and some graphics and some transition that really made it look polished. And that thing scaled like crazy. So it's definitely going to be higher production value than TikTok or Meta, but it does not have to be $1 million type of stuff that you see, on Super Bowl commercials. You don't need that. And then I'll also say if you're running an ad on Instagram Reels or on TikTok or TikTok Shops, whatever, you can take that ad almost exactly how it is and run it on YouTube Shorts. I will say though, I haven't seen as much results with YouTube Shorts only as I have when you're kind of doing all of YouTube, where you got YouTube Shorts, you got YouTube on desktop and mobile and connected TVs, which takes all a little bit different format for each of those. That's when it really works. We've seen less of an impact when it's just YouTube Shorts.
Last question, because I am late for a meeting.
Yeah.
What length are we looking at here? Is there an ideal minimum length? And I'm saying minimum because I understand that there probably is a minimum.
There is. I prefer 45 seconds to 3 minutes as kind of an ideal length. And if you could shoot for 90 seconds, or 60 seconds, that's great. Ultimately, it's got to check the boxes. It's got to hook somebody. It's got to be compelling. It's got to have the product demo and the social proof and the offer and all that. But usually if it's a little bit longer, the more you tell, the more you sell, right? The more you show, the more dough. I just kind of made that fun spot. That's actually really lame. But we've seen ads that are like 60-second cuts outperform 30-second cuts when it's basically the same ad.
Wow.
But just a 60-second versus a 30-second. The 60-second does better with clicks and overall lift in sales. So generally speaking, we want to go kind of in that 45 to minute and a half range, but as much as 3 minutes can also work.
Thank you. Where can people find out more about what you are up to and chat with OMG Commerce?
Absolutely. So omgcommerce.com, click the Let's Talk button, and that's how you end up getting with our team. You can find my podcast there by clicking on resources. You can see the YouTube guide and stuff there as well. And then I'm active on LinkedIn. So hit me up on LinkedIn. Would love to connect to you. I do talk about all things D2C and retail and business and Google and Amazon and all kinds of stuff. So would love to connect on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. And I'm looking forward to coming on your pod. It's going to be...
Let's do it, man. Let's get it.
It's going to be a blast.
Talk TikTok shops. I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for your time today, Brett.
Thanks, Jordan. And as always, thank you for tuning in. We'd love to hear more from you. So let us know, what topics would you like to cover on this pod? And if you know somebody that would benefit from this episode, please share it and leave us a review on iTunes. That would make our day. And with that, until next time, thank you for listening.